Hello and welcome. Today, we're chatting with Dr. Elisabeth Wells, Executive Director of Our Kids Network, or OKN for short. Our Kids Network is a Halton-wide partnership of agencies and organizations dedicated to working together to see all children and youth thrive. As a collective impact network, OKN strengthens community organizations by collecting and sharing research and Halton-specific data, promoting and sustaining relationships among organizations, and developing resources to help partners achieve their outcomes. While OKN does not provide direct services, it supports professionals in their work with children, youth, and families. OKN's work is focused on ages 0 to 18. An example of some of the resources that OKN provides is the Data Portal, an online interactive database of OKN and demographic data that was built by community for community. Since joining the OKN in 2012, Elisabeth has worked with community partners to conduct and use research to strengthen communities' ability to improve the lives of children and youth. She has served as Executive Director at OKN since 2022 and collaborates with the OKN Champions to advance the network's vision for all children and youth to thrive. We hope you'll enjoy this conversation with Dr. Elisabeth Wells. Welcome. I'm here joined today by Elisabeth Wells of the Our Kids Network, or OKN for short. Welcome, Liz.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure. I'm thrilled to be invited. Thanks, Stephen.
Oh, we're very thrilled to have you. And I guess we'll jump right into the first question, if that's okay.
Yeah.
And the first question is also my personal favorite question. So
Me too. It's great.
Yeah, it's very exciting. So what are you working on that you're most excited about?
This is amazing. So one of the things I'm really excited about for our Kids Network is our data portal. And this isn't new. Like we've had the data portal. We're actually celebrating 10 years. But what I'm really excited about is that we have a dedicated base of users, and we're really looking to expand the awareness of how easy it is to use and how helpful it is for professionals. It seems to be still a bit of a hidden gem, despite being around for like 10 years. So I'm just trying to launch a bit of a campaign to create some more awareness of how easy it is to use, all of the great stuff that's in there, and all of the great features that it has. And so for those people who aren't as familiar, it's our online database of all of our Kids Network data, and it has a lot of great social demographic data as well from sources like our census and other sources. And what's really amazing about the data portal is that it's accessible and free to anyone who wants to use it. So you don't have to be specialized in using data. You don't have to have a really great understanding of using data. You don't have to be an OKN member. And it's really simple. You can create maps, charts, and graphs, and you can actually download all of our data if you want for your own use. But the most incredible feature, I think, that really sets it apart from everybody else is that you can upload your own program data. And if you like, and you can overlay it with our Kids Network data or census data, for example. So that makes it a really powerful tool for planning and evaluation. And it helps users, for example, think about, okay, if I'm all my programs are operating here in Milton, like what's happening in these communities? And so you can really then upload information about neighborhood cohesion or about low income or about the percent of lone parent families or anything like that to really help you get a sense of the communities that your programs and services are operating in. And then what I'm really excited about the data portal right now, as I said, it's been around for 10 years. So we're really looking to continue to grow and evolve it. And we're looking for feedback from the community about what we could do to make it a better tool. And so we want to be able to send out a really short survey to have folks participate in that and then think about what would make it great for you. So are there features that you really need or data that you really need that you think would be a good fit and that we're looking to expand it?
It's really exciting. I have a few, the gears are turning a little bit because I was thinking about when you shared that that one could upload one's own data into the portal, like what would that look like? Like that's not something I'm terribly familiar with.
Yeah, so a lot of people, for example, that provide programs and services, they might actually have administrative data that they collect from their own clients, things like their postal codes or where your clients are coming from. So if you have postal code data, you can upload it into the data portal and we'll geocode
Oh.
it and plot it for you. So it creates a visual map. For example, where are all your clients coming from?
Hmm. That's really interesting. So it's quite interactive.
It's very interactive, and that was the whole um, point of it when we transitioned to it.
So, I mean, you hit on this a little bit already, but why would you say that this is so important to you?
One of the values I think that I really appreciate about our Kids Network is about making data and information really accessible and
Hmm.
open to people. And I think yes, we're a capacity building organization and we're really, focused on collecting and sharing Halton-specific data, but that's because people need it. So folks working on the front lines, they really need access to reliable and credible data, right? For things like funding applications, or if you're doing a presentation or a report, you want to be able to have some of that evidence in like informed numbers or information that's going to help you better tell that story. And a lot of what I like about the data portal is that a lot of smaller organizations may not necessarily have the capacity within their own organization or within themselves to to access
Hmm.
census data or to like dig into census data, to interpret the results, to explore findings at the neighborhood level or even at the census tract level if you want to make it even smaller. So I think you and I, we really appreciate that importance of data for decision making and program planning and things like resource allocation and of course advocacy efforts. You and I were
Hmm.
chatting about that. So the data portal is really just meant to be one more tool that people can put in their toolbox to help them be able to access information and be able to use it. And it's not really complicated to use it. And if you are, having questions about how to use it, we have resources to help folks to be able to do
Oh,
that.
okay.
So things like we have video tutorials, we have data interpretation guides, we do workshops all the time for the data portal, and also we have a really tool called our data conversation tool. So this, and you can get it at the Our Kids Network website under our resource hub, but it really helps folks identify what are their data needs, like what are some of the questions that they're
Hmm.
working on, and then to think about how they might interpret and use that data, and then it helps them craft a story from that data that they can then use, for their own program planning or policy decisions.
That's so that's so interesting. I mean, it really kind of circles back in my mind around, like what it means to be a capacity building organization and the ways that, that your data portal is enabling people to interact with the work you're doing and with local data, even at sometimes the neighborhood level, which to me would be really helpful for those community-based organizations that, need to be able to apply for funding and allocate limited resources in efficient ways, and this really enables them to do that. Um,
Absolutely. Yeah, it's really
mhm.
meant for them.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
when you mentioned that, like, thinking through the data needs of different folks in the community and the story that gets crafted from that data, um, that I wonder if I could ask you for an example of that. Like, does anything come to mind, like of a story from the data that was really important to folks in the community?
Well, sure. So one of the things I think back to, like specific to actually the data portal, was a few years ago, the Milton used the data portal to evaluate a program that we were running. So like I was saying to you, if you have postal code data from your own programs, you can
Hmm.
upload it into the data portal. And they had a particular program that they were running. And when they actually took a look at where those program participants were coming from, it wasn't necessarily the neighborhoods that they had expected. And so the story really shifted for
Hmm.
them around, okay, if this program is meant to tailor this particular population group or age group, it was really about an age group. So we're missing this whole population over here. And so what's the story
Wow.
then? They had to shift their whole media and communications campaign to be able to really directly then reach the community that they were trying to. So that is one exciting way I thought of really helping people sort of shift that story. Like, because it's just numbers, right? Like,
Hmm.
but it's how you're interpreting and then using that evidence to inspire action to do something with it that's actually meaningful and benefiting people that you work with and citizens in our community.
Oh, I mean, you may have just answered my next question with that last statement because that really gave me a shiver. That's so meaningful. Um, but from all of that, like what's already happening that you'd like to see more of?
So I think it really is about that, right? Using that evidence to inspire
Hmm.
conversations like this and really then to inspire change and action. And I think CDH is doing that. Like you're great at actually inspiring that dialogue and having that conversation. I was reading the report that you just released about childhood or children in poverty.
Hmm.
And I was going to say, like, it's like I said, it's just a number, right? It's one thing to say
Yeah.
37% of Ontario or Oakville census tracts are at that higher poverty rate, or that Oakville has higher rates of poverty than the other three municipalities. It's like, okay, but now what, right? And so
Hmm.
I think CDH is really good at taking that type of information, making it accessible, right, to the community. And then that next piece, which is bringing folks together to explore it. So, what does that look like in our communities? Who's living there? How does this match your understanding of that community? What other services are available there? Who wants to collaborate to make a difference? And I love Halton because Halton has a really strong history of collaboration.
Hmm.
And I think it's even more amazing right now because as everyone's coming out of the pandemic, there's this real thirst for that collaboration, and it's really been amplified, I think. And we want to keep building on that. Like, we want to keep building on bringing folks together to have these conversations. We can't work in isolation, right?
Hmm.
Like, so at our Kids Network, we just had our first partnership roundtable a few months ago. And it was the first time that we had really brought the whole network together in person in a few years. And engagement is so high. Like people want
Wow.
to get together. People immediately see the value of collective impact, right? Like bringing people together across sectors to work collectively on an issue, things like poverty, mental health, like all of these big problems, all of these require a collective response. So this is our framework at our Kids Network. We adopted the collective impact framework years ago because we really wanted to shift more intentionally to that idea of collaborative action. It really requires a systematic approach that's really focused on the
Hmm.
relationship building piece and communication. So communication both within and across all of these different organizations. And that's a lot of work, right? But it's important. And it also is the data piece, right? So it
Hmm.
requires that everyone being willing to share and monitor that data over time to see how we're making an impact. Like for us, it's the Halton 7. That's our framework for how we're tracking and monitoring our progress towards our vision that all children and youth thrive. So it's that collaboration piece.
Yeah, well, and as you said, some of the challenges that our communities face and our society overall really does demand that collective response because they're collective challenges or barriers. And um, yeah, as you were talking about all of that, it made me think of some of the advocacy and convening that we at CDH have done around housing, and the way that when you bring people together it's amazing what comes out of that you like things that you may not have even imagined as being a possibility that people just kind of take especially when you're sharing data and there's evidence-based data involved in the conversation and then there's a human story attached to it to help help us sort of establish some context, and people take it and run with it sometimes out of some of these events or these opportunities to learn, and I'm always inspired by that.
Me too, right? That's where the magic really happens. Because
Yeah.
it's one thing to publish a report or have the data portal and put it in there, but it's that what you're creating of value and you're creating action when you're actually bringing people together around it. Because, like you said, like somebody's going to see something in there that you might not have, or they're going to bring that unique lens that's really
Mm.
diverse and different, and then they're going to take it and run with it. I hear stories sometimes like years later, and I'll just be like amazed, like just at what's happened, screen time. Like we have some data that shows like how screen time is really becoming an issue, right? And what's happening with that, and then how someone takes that information around youth mental health and screen time, and then
Hmm.
they apply that to a program or a policy within schools that ends up being a really like hallmark of how we can do work together. That's a it's not an actual example. I'm just saying this,
Yeah,
like I
yeah.
hear stories years later sometimes, and I just think it's amazing how when you bring folks together, it's this one thing that they springboard off of, and they end up collaborating, working together to do great things.
Well, and 100%, and sometimes we never get a sense of what our impact is when we convene, right? Because it's such a domino effect, and
It
I
is.
think and I think that's due to the fact that when the people that are coming to engage with the data that we're sharing and to talk about a specific issue in the community, like they're bringing their own lived experience and their own unique strengths and gifts to that conversation that they can then take forward beyond what we're doing. And so, yeah, I that really speaks to me. Yeah. Wow. So I just out of curiosity, Liz, what do you see as some next steps for either the data portal or OKN itself? And what might you like, want, or need from the community to make that as successful as possible?
Yeah, I think for our kids network, we're really excited about the future. We're at a really amazing, we've been in Halton for almost 3 decades, and
Really?
we're at a really exciting phase of growth and development. And we want to continue that engagement with community, with all sectors, right? Things like the belonging collaboration that we
Mm,
have with you at Community Development Halton and Halton Equity Diversity Roundtable, like that's important collective impact work. And as we continue to build out those partnerships, I think we're just going to continue to have greater impact together. So at that conference, the header conference in June, we're going to start another conversation with our data
hmm.
and our stories, right? About everyone's lived experience and about belonging, and what that means in Halton. So um, what I want is just more of that. Like I just want
Hmm.
to be able to continue to grow the really thrilled to be at this phase where we're going to continue to build
Hmm.
new partnerships with new folks that we maybe didn't work with in the past. And so we'll continue to grow out and create awareness of all the great things happening.
Sounds like momentum.
Yeah,
Yeah, that sounds momentous.
it
Oh
does.
wow. Yeah, I and that's another thing. Like it's so generative when we get to collaborate together and explore what we can do with a topic or with data, with stories. I'm yeah, I almost I all I can say is I feel like after that conference in June, we're gonna have whole new directions to head in, that we might not even expect going in. So
Yes, I couldn't agree more.
it's an
And
adventure.
that's exciting. It's great. We'll see where it takes us next. And bringing all those diverse voices together, it can only be for the best.
Well, and just to go off of that, like what from where you stand, what would be the best thing that could happen from all of this?
From the conference in June.
From yeah, but or kind of a combination of like, what we're collaborating on, what we're
Oh,
working on now, like what
like blue
just big picture,
skying.
blue
Yeah,
sky, like what's the best thing
big
that could
picture.
happen? Big
For
picture.
for for us at our Kids Network, really, it comes back to our vision, right? We want to see
Hmm.
all children and youth thrive. So putting that collective vision into happening, like That's what it's all about. So for us, it's the children are the future, right? And so
Hmm.
we're providing, yes, this snapshot and this information and this data of how things are going right now, so that then we can collaborate and do something that's actually going to make a difference for kids and everybody later, so that will continue to promote the importance of early childhood development. Like though that
Mm.
period of 0 to 6, that's such a critical window, right? And so continuing to get folks on board and aware of that, building solutions together for belonging and creating more inclusive communities where everyone feels like they belong and that they are safe. Like that's the dream, right? Where everybody is thriving and that we're having amazing, like Halton is incredible, as I've said, and I think it consistently gets high ratings, but you and I know that there are people who don't feel that, right? Who
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
experiencing things in much different ways than sometimes the story would say. And so having that better understanding of where we need to focus our efforts to be able to do a better job together, that's how we achieve our vision then that all children and youth thrive.
Yeah, like really, really focusing on that collective impact that we can have, that's informed by data, and that's an ongoing conversation too. And I think that's something I love about the data portal, as being like, to me, that really is an ongoing conversation as people engage. Hmm. Um, so I guess the just, on this topic of early childhood development, of, some of the challenges our communities face, such as poverty, and other things like food security, and sense
Yes.
of belonging, some of these other kind of interconnected uh, experiences that we're discussing here or speaking to. Is there anyone else in the community that you would point to as doing important work in the community to address some of these challenges?
Yeah, I look a lot to CDH actually as our sort of partner capacity building organization out there. I know also you're doing incredible work supporting the Food Security Action Table and some of the things that are happening there. Um, as a capacity building organization, I mean, I have a lot of admiration for everybody on the front lines who are doing the work every day. And I'm just hopeful that some of the tools and resources that we have, like the data portal, like our data visualizations, like our resource hub, like our reports, like your reports, like I'm hopeful that that's giving them the things that professionals need to
Mm.
inform their work and make meaningful change as well. So like the convening is a big piece of that, but yeah, that's what I would say.
Oh, that's fabulous. Yeah, I appreciate that. And yeah, it's yeah, just I guess in my own learning about what it means to be a part of a capacity building organization, I always really enjoy our conversations, because we are, um, trying to meet similar goals that way in the community. And uh, yeah, and you know, I guess in my time before CDH, I was always really passionate about creating youth opportunities, and exploring what young people need from the rest of us, right? And um, to thrive, and to grow, and to feel like they belong. And so I love the work that you're doing, and very happy to keep learning more about it. And on that note, where can folks go to learn more about the good work you're doing with OKN, and with your community partners?
For sure. You just head over to our website at www.ourkidsnetwork.ca, and it's incredible. We've just updated that website about 2 years ago to redesign it as a resource hub. So it's easy for you to search all of our different reports and tools. They're all organized by collection, or you can search it by resource type, like if you're looking for a report, so you want a PDF, or if you want something more like a video. Anyway, so it's
Mm.
all there at your fingertips, and you can find out much more about us and all of the work that we're doing with our partners. And stay tuned for more. We have a lot coming that'll be happening this year that I think will be really exciting.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that. Well, yeah, okay. Thank you very much, Liz, and thank you for sharing about your work, and the work of OKN, and what you hope will happen as we go forward. So lots of exciting things to come.
Thanks.